Cheers, darling.
Cheers. Have you started it?
We can start now.
I could tell because you were using your work voice.
Oh my god, are we back to that
You
again?
did the same thing as last time.
Holy cow, you gotta lay off on the work voice thing.
You do have your work.
So hello, welcome to, we have an official name now for our show, our little On Call Me Maybe adjacent show called On Call Me Maybe Overtime. And I am here with my lovely daughter,
Hannah,
and
Miss Unicorn, of course. She was in the last
obviously,
episode.
yeah.
She doesn't want to be left out.
Yeah, no, Hannah insisted that we bring Miss Unicorn to our second show, so it is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Adriana Vilela. Does it kind of freak you out when I use like my Portuguese pronunciation for my name? You're like, who dis?
Yeah, well, because I'm not used to you saying it that way.
I'm trying to lean into the Portuguese pronunciation of my name because, like, for so many years I've used the anglicized version of my name, which is Adriana Vilela. And also, like, I know a lot of people call me Adriana. It's not Adriana. It's Adriana. Just to clarify.
Like Hannah.
Like Hannah.
I know.
But I'm not a double N, but you're a double N.
Yeah, but it bothers me.
I don't like the Anna. I prefer the Anna.
Yeah, like my friends used to call me like Hannah.
Yeah.
Like when I first met them. Hannah.
Yeah, it's like a different vibe.
Like
to
there's
your name,
nothing
right?
wrong with it. It's just like it doesn't feel like me.
Exactly. So, you know, in true On Call Me Maybe fashion, we have drinks. And you can see the drinks. And we both have bubble tea. Mine is homemade bubble tea.
Mine is weeks old.
Yeah, that's kind of gross. Are there pearls in there, or is this the coconut jelly one?
There are pearls.
Oh my god. That is super nasty.
It's okay.
So, our topic today, so we have an interesting topic today, which, I think it's interesting.
I don't even remember what our topic is.
Yeah, we kind of picked it just before recording. But before we launch into our topic today, I wanted to ask you, so what do you think I do for a living?
You make speeches about observability, open telemetry, Kubernetes, I think DevOps maybe, some like other thing, and like you code and you type loudly.
I type loudly.
And you love observability.
I do. I am a loud typist. I really like those mechanical keyboards that go clackety clack, although I don't have one because I don't believe in external keyboards for my laptop or external mice.
Yeah, but even though you're an engineer, and I remember when I was younger, I thought you drove a train.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I kept thinking I'd see you at like the subway.
Hi, Mom! So you thought I drove like all the subway trains?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that was a fun little sidebar. Okay, so today's topic, because you said one of the things that I do for my job is to do speeches or talks. And today, I thought it'd be fun to talk about like your experiences public speaking and your process when you have to like prepare presentations in class. And how was it like doing it the first time? Like
Okay, so the first thing is I get very sweaty and very shaky. I remember my first kind of big presentation. It was in grade 6. It was a presentation on the symbolism in something in Lord of the Flies. And I was so scared and like so nervous because our teacher was like talked about like all the different things that make like a really good presentation. And I'm like, I have to follow this. But like, I'm fine public speaking. Like, I don't get that nervous. I'm not like some people, but like, I still like, I don't know. I get scared. It's a lot of people.
It is. It's pressure.
Yeah, and so it was just like very scary because this was my first kind of real big presentation that I was actually getting marked on my presenting skills. Yeah, you're giving me the look.
I'm not giving you the look. I was just paying attention.
I thought it was like your look of why are you saying this?
My
you're
God,
saying
no, it's not the look of death. It's just the look of inquisitiveness.
Okay. Yeah, but anyways, it was very scary, and I feel like the biggest thing with public speaking. I know this is like very basic and very cheesy, but it's like you really need to practice, and especially for someone who likes to go over time by like 50 to 100%. Yeah.
It can be a problem.
Yeah, you really have to, like, it's hard to choose the information that you actually want to say, because as someone like me who, like, thinks everything's interesting,
everything's important. It's like highlighting notes. Your whole page is like highlighted because it's all important.
Yeah. I had no structure on how I was answering that question, but yeah.
No, I think you landed on a good point in terms of like preparing for speaking, especially like when you're new to speaking and when the subject matter isn't like super well known to you.
Yeah.
Because I think when you know the topic, you can kind of, I'm going to say it, I think you can kind of bullshit your way through it because you know you have enough knowledge of it that you can like you can talk freely without a script and you sound less robotic.
Yeah, like my second kind of big presentation where I was really being marked on presentation was one for geography class. We were studying populations and I had to do, and I was like studying countries' population trends and stuff like that. And I, unlike the Lord of the Flies one, I had done a lot of research. I had already like written a bunch of stuff about it. And this was not a group project. This was like just me. And so I knew this all in my head, and like I could kind of just figure out my way through it. I didn't exactly have to like know everything I was going to say.
Yeah.
But like I had like an idea of what I was doing.
Yeah.
Also, it is a lot easier when you're doing a presentation on your own.
So true.
And also my trick for school was, because you're not supposed to look at the slides because it kind of looks weird. So what you do is if you're like controlling it on a computer, make it so it's like each line comes up when you press the space button or like a button.
Oh yeah,
and
so
then,
you have like the bullet points that you're going to talk about. You have them like show up.
Yeah, and then so like I remember I used that because I was the one like hitting it to make it the next one. So every time I'd go over to hit like get to the next point, I'd look at what I had to do really quickly.
Right.
And also transitions is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like not actual transition like size, but like just what you're talking about. Like I feel like if you're going to talk about something, you have to make sure it blends into the next thing. And it's just not like we're talking about this. We're talking about this. It's like, oh, this happens to relate to this and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and I think it makes for a much more fun presentation too when you can see the connection from one thing to another. I want to go back to a previous point that you made about like presenting by yourself versus presenting with somebody else or more than one person, because it is a very different vibe. Because like when you're presenting by yourself, you rely on yourself, like you're the only one who can fuck up. When you're presenting with somebody else, like, well, it's another human or more than one human who can also fuck up, which is okay. Like these things happen, but it means like I think you put yourself more out there. Like it's harder and more stressful in some ways.
And I feel like you can kind of get into it more because you're not following as tight of a structure. Because when you're following like a tight structure with two people, say it's like, oh, I say this, you say this, I say this, you say this.
Yeah.
You take this slide. You really have to like make sure what you're saying kind of follows that structure. But when you're alone, you can kind of just fake it till you make it. And also like something that I always found difficult was when I was doing like a group presentation in school and someone was saying something, or someone was like supposed to talk about this, they missed a point, and as the person who likes every single bit of information, that would like always bother me, because I'm like, I need you to say this, and then you can't just kind of slip it in or else it just looks awkward.
Depends, I think, on the situation, on whether or not you can slip it in. But it's sucky when like they miss a point and it was like an important point, but like there's nothing you can do. And that I guess that's the other thing too, like when you're presenting, like sometimes you present, I've had presentations where like the rehearsal was like perfect and I'm like, I'm gonna nail this, and then you go and present and it's like different from when you rehearsed it, and you make mistakes, you might forget some stuff in the middle of it, and you kind of have to roll with it and just like pretend it's all good,
I feel like,
and just not skip a beat. It's like acting, right? When you're acting on stage.
I feel like part of practicing is also improvising.
Yeah.
Like, you practice on how you're going to improvise. I know, like, that's like an oxymoron, but, like, I feel like you have to just, like, kind of know it.
Like, almost practice how you're going to fuck up, too, right?
Yeah.
Because I've had, like, when I practice for talks now, when I practice, sometimes I notice, like, you know, I'll start off, like, wrong, and I used to, like, start from the beginning when I was practicing my talks, but then I'm like, well, it's not going to be like that in real life. So part of the practice is getting used to, like, not quite saying things the way that you wanted to, but still moving ahead and keeping calm and collected and acting like everything's all good.
Yeah, I think, that's a big part. Just, like, acting like everything's okay. But I think also a big part is after the presentation's done, it's really hard not to be hard on yourself if something didn't go to plan.
Yes.
I am someone who will be very hard on themselves if something, like, tiny messes up. I think one time in a presentation, I, like, stumbled a word a little bit, and then I went, like, running out crying because I'm just like, oh my God. But then, like, the thing is, not many people notice because
it's true.
It's like performing. They don't know what you're gonna do.
It's true. Yeah, like, they're not hanging on your every word, but it's so true to, like, you're stealing my drink. Is it because of your, like, old decrepit, like, tapioca balls that you're, like,
it's like a
grossed
week
out by?
old.
That's nasty.
No, it's not.
What was I saying? Shoot, I lost my train of thought. It was related to ADHD brain, man.
I messed you up.
I know, you did mess me up. Was it related to, like, practicing, messing up?
Not
being hard on yourself. Being hard on yourself. Yeah, I wanted to discuss that further because it is so hard to not be. It's easy to be hard on yourself after.
But it's hard to, like, celebrate yourself too.
Yes.
Like, you only think about the mistakes you did and not like, oh my God, I just said that in front of, like, a bunch of people. I, like, beat this, like, big thing that made me anxious.
Yeah.
But instead you focus on, like, oh, I forgot to do this.
Yeah. And then when people come up to you and say, oh, that was a great presentation, like, sometimes my thought is, you're just being nice to me. I sucked. But when people give you a compliment, usually they are being nice, so you gotta, like, take the compliment.
Yeah, it's hard to take
and also, like, I think the biggest thing is what you said, where, like, people are not going to be harping on the little details. If they're genuinely interested in what you have to say, then they're not going to even focus on the little, like, mishaps and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, like, that's something that we have to train ourselves to do. What about Q&A? Like,
oh, that's part's the scariest.
I agree.
Like, I haven't had that much, like, experience with Q&As because, like, most people at school, their questions, like, aren't as, like, dive deep in.
Yeah. Like,
so I don't really know what exactly to do just because I haven't had experience. Like, and I think you really have to, it's good to have those extra pieces of information that you didn't put into the slides.
Yeah.
To, like, kind of be prepared if someone doesn't answer. But yeah, I don't really have that much knowledge on it. You can answer that question.
Oh, damn. Yeah, Q&A is an interesting one. I feel like it's a double-edged sword. Like, if people don't ask me questions, I'm like, you don't have any questions about this wonderful thing that I presented, nobody loves me.
Yeah.
But then if people ask questions and it's like some gnarly ass question.
It's like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, what if they ask me something and I have no idea what the answer is? And I think it's perfectly okay to, like, not be able to answer all the questions, and it's okay to say, I don't know, or, I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. Let me get back to you. I can, I'm happy to follow up with you, take down their contact information.
Like, I don't really know much about the business, but I feel like that's also a good way to, like, make connections because
True.
Someone just asking a question and you just, like, answering it right away, like, it's yes, but they aren't going to remember that. But if you kind of take some time to research it and have a discussion with them after, you're going to make better relationships with them, and they might be able to help you with that, and they'll feel less, like, scared to maybe say what their knowledge is about it too. Yeah. And you won't feel embarrassed, like, because you're in front of a big audience. So it's, like, really good to, like, sometimes have those, like, questions that you can't answer on the spot, but you'll take like their contact information. You'll make like relationships with them.
Yeah, and then you can learn something out of it. And it's true, like I do find like presentations are a great opportunity for networking, and I think like it's always great to meet people because you never know like where your connections are going to take you. And I've even found like after some presentations, like people who, you know, they were either too shy to ask like during the Q&A session or whatever. Maybe they thought of a question after the presentation ended, coming up to you and asking questions. And I really like that kind of a setting for Q&A because it's like a lot more intimate. People really connect with you.
And there's less the kind of like embarrassment.
Yeah,
if there's like, oh, and they're like, oh, actually, this might be something that you want to consider when answering that.
True. That's true. They can politely like educate you on stuff, which is cool. So
yeah, the thing about presenting is it gets easier, but it never gets 100% like
that's true.
Easy. Like I've done multiple presentations for school, and I still take with me like the things that my teachers taught on how to make a good presentation. How to not be scared, how to practice. But like it's like to present, you have to have some creativity in you and some like skill, and so you can't. I lost my train of thought, but like
the tips from your teachers.
Yeah, but like it's a creative thing. You aren't always going to be 100% at it. Like, if you're performing a dance, you aren't always going to get the same moves every single time. It's not always going to be perfect, but you have to think of what can I learn from that presentation and how am I going to make it just slightly better for the next one? How can I avoid that? And, like, you won't end up being 100%. Like, after multiple presentations, like, I haven't done that many. Not as many as her. But, like... After so many presentations, I feel better, but I'm still not 100% confident. I still get shaky knees when I go up to present, especially in front of people that you don't know. Actually, people that you do know is kind of scary.
I think people that you do know, like I remember, in high school I did French public speaking, and I remember in one of my competitions, it was my first French public speaking competition. And it was the provincial finals for my category, and my parents drove from like Ottawa to Toronto.
Of course you do a speech competition.
Of course. I've been doing this for a while. They drove from Ottawa to Toronto for this public speaking competition, and I remember seeing my mom in the front row, and she spent the whole time like this, just, you know, head down, covering her face, and I'm giving my speech, and I'm like, oh my God. I have to keep it together because this is so distracting. Honestly, like this was the school of like how to deal with weird things while giving a speech, because in all my practice, I did not prepare for, you know, for like covering face while giving speech. And it was so terrifying when she did that. But I do feel like it prepared me for kind of like anything can sort of happen in public speaking. The second time I did it, she actually did not. She was not in the room. And then I'm like, where's my mommy?
But I think one of the like last things that at least I can think of right now is feedback. I'm horrible at taking feedback. I can like tell when people like aren't being completely truthful, and I'm like, I want the honest truth, but then once they give the honest truth, I like break down in tears and feel like my whole life has been like end. So I've been writing a talk recently, and I got some feedback. It was good feedback, but it's really hard to take feedback, especially on something that you're very proud of. Whenever you give me feedback on stuff that I do,
you get so mad. You make like the pouty, like, I hate you face, like I'm gonna cry and be angry. Oh, thank you. I love you too. But I understand. Yeah, I've got the death ray eyes.
Yeah, but like
from her.
Taking feedback is really hard, and I don't think anyone's perfect at taking feedback, but just know that sometimes you can say, sometimes you can agree with their feedback. It's okay to agree with their feedback, but it's also okay to not agree.
Oh, that's so true.
It's okay to say, well, I like how this is. If you're happy with it, and if you think that their feedback doesn't really relate to it, or you don't think it's in the direction you want to go, don't take it that way. I remember you gave me feedback on my talk, and I'm like, that's not really the way I want to go on it. It's okay not to take feedback, but you also have to make sure that you are listening to feedback, because feedback is the best way that you can actually improve. Like, yes, you can practice, yes, you can like review it, but feedback is how people see it from not your perspective, who haven't seen you put this all together, and it really helps.
Yeah, no, it's so true, and you know, going back, like continue on this feedback thread, I personally, like whenever people give me feedback, I do tend to get like a little defensive internally, or sometimes externally too. And I kind of get like, I get mad sometimes. But then, you know, it goes back to what you said, like listen to the feedback. And once I have a chance to like digest, cool down, and digest the feedback, you know, a lot of the times I'm kind of like, oh, well, actually, that's a really great piece of feedback.
And they aren't like directly trying to offend you. They're honestly just trying to make it better. But like, also when you're giving feedback, like, don't be afraid to say something that's a little bit of criticism, because you do have the best intentions.
Yeah, that's true.
But like, don't say, oh, this sucks, but give like constructive criticism on how you can make it better. Don't just say, oh, well, this has no point to it. It's like, oh, maybe instead you could do this, because then that honestly makes someone feel better. And I'd be a hypocrite if I said, oh, just don't let feedback hurt you. It's gonna hurt, but just after you have a chance to cool down, really take in the feedback and think of what you want from it.
What are the nuggets that you're going to take away from it? And also, I think when giving feedback, I think someone once described it to me as like a sandwich. You start with like the good, the bad, the good, but always start with like the good, right?
Yeah.
So that you're like, hey, this, you want to signal to the person like, this was, you know, there's some good elements here.
Personally, I like bad first, because you have like the bad, and then you like...
That's true. You hear the good and you're like, oh, I'm so perfect. And then you hear the bad and it's like damn it. But yeah, I mean, but that, anyway, that was advice that was given to me. Maybe that'll work for you. Does not work for Hannah. So if you're giving her feedback, just start with the bad. She'll be okay once she gets over the emotional. But, you know, like... Anna, for example, my on Call Me Maybe co-host, Anna gives like incredible feedback on all things like presentations and slides, like during, like while you're presenting, and even like how the slides are organized, or even like blog posts. And she's funny because she's like, just one little tiny comment, but her one little tiny comment, it like usually makes a huge difference. When it comes to like, you know, like really making the thing shine. So Anna is a great giver of feedback. Yeah,
I think those are my like big tips on presentations. I am not a professional like her. I've only done school presentations. Like, you don't have to take my advice. This is just stuff that I've noticed. Yeah,
I think it's good. It's good advice, though. I think it's very pertinent, like whether you're giving presentations in high school, elementary school, or professionally, like I do,
or even just in front of like friends and family on your proposal to get a pet rat.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, Hannah did a slide deck when she wanted pet rats. She did a presentation for her dad and me, and it was very compelling. I appreciated the time and effort and research that you put into it. So,
I put a lot of research into it.
You did. So that swayed me. Oh, one final thing that I think we should discuss with regards to presentations is like slide composition. Like, how do you make your presentation engaging so that it doesn't bore people to tears?
I'm not really good at that, but I definitely say, like, I feel like a good color scheme really, like, puts it together. Like, I feel like everyone kind of says that, but, like, I feel like a color scheme will really, like, make it interesting. And then I think also turning some of, kind of like an infographic, turning your text into visuals.
Yes.
Instead of saying, oh, to do this, you need this, then this, then this, and putting that in a paragraph or points, you can like show visuals. Oh, to make this robot, you put on the arms, then the legs, and you kind of do like visuals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought of building a robot for that.
I mean, that's a great example. Nobody likes a wall of text. Yeah. And I do find like school presentations might be a little bit different, but like, you know, for talks and stuff, like I see a lot of presenters do slides where it's like one short phrase and then a meme or a fun diagram. and one thing that I've been leaning into a lot for my presentations is using DALL-E, which is by OpenAI, for generating like fun graphics for my presentations, because I can't draw like Hannah. I'd have like sad little stick figures, and maybe that can be a thing, but I don't have the patience.
I did make a painting that you can use for it. I'm gonna go get it.
Okay, Hannah's gonna get her.
Yeah,
painting.
because you still haven't used it, I don't think.
I haven't used it, no. I have to figure out where it fits in with my...
You did a bunch of other ones like that. Like, yeah.
Okay, maybe I've got a talk coming up in June. Maybe it'll be part of it. The prop.
Yes.
Pictures by Hannah, or paintings by Hannah. She does do these for money too.
I do.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Hannah likes to bake for money, but not paint for money.
I might paint for money. I might. But I might make two
Hannah
versions.
doesn't like to part with her works of art.
Yeah, so I make two versions.
You can't just like commission a work of art from her and expect her not to make a duplicate for herself that she loves.
Yeah. I think this is getting really long.
Oh yeah, maybe. Okay, well, I guess thank you for sitting with me again today. And you're the one who was cutting off the recording. Wow.
What? Oh. I get anxious when things are too long after my 40-minute long movies.
Oh,
that I used to
damn.
make.
Okay, well, this was a very fun and engaging talk. At least I think
I hope so.
We
should get slide decks next time.
Yeah.
For our conversation.
It's supposed to be fun.
We make them on the spot.
Oh my god, this is too much work already. Well, thank you for joining me again for our On Call Me Maybe Overtime with Miss Unicorn, and with our drinks. I say cheers.
Chaz.
Oh, so we should do our outro. So
I know how to code.
It's not I know how to code.
I think it should be.
No, because not all the people who listen to On Call Me Maybe are like into code necessarily.
Then why do they watch?
For the engaging technical content. It's not that they don't know.
I thought it's all about code.
It's not that they don't know how to code. I'm just saying it's not like a coding.
I know how to code. Not very much, but I know how to code. I know how to code kind of in HTML.
Awesome. Debatable on whether or not HTML is a real language, but that's another.
Oh.
I'm sorry, did I just shatter your whole universe?
Yeah, okay, I know a tiny bit of like coding.
Python?
Yeah, like
maybe.
Tiny bit. I don't even remember. I know some. But okay, peace, love, and I know how to code.
All right, peace, love, and code. Bye.
Bye. So